Hi, let's talk about graphing again. So what we want to do right now is look at the important parts on a graph. So if we have a graph right here, this has our x-axis on it, and it also has our y-axis. And remember that the x-axis looks just like a number line. It starts at 0 at the origin, and it goes up into positive numbers, and then it also goes down to the right into negative numbers. And our y goes up for positive numbers and down for negative numbers. We've seen already that we can plot points, and if we plot a function, what that means is that every x we have only has one y. So if I plot, let's see, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and I connect these points, I can see that I've got a function starting to form. Now I know this is a function and not a relation because every x only has one y. That being said, there's a few really important parts of this graph. So the first place we're going to look at is what we call the intercepts. And the intercepts are where our graph crosses the x-axis and the y-axis. A graph also has something called slope. And the slope is how steep our graph is. And slope can look like a lot of different things. It can be really steep, it can be really gradual, it can be negative, it can be positive, which means it can go uphill or downhill. So if we look at that again, here's a new graph. Let's take a look at this line. So let's say I draw a new line on here, and let's say my line is gonna go like this. Wow, that's not a very straight line, but you get the idea. So there's three really important parts we want to look at. We want to first look for our x-intercept. We also want to look for the y-intercept. And we also want to look for the slope. So our x-intercept is going to be right here where the graph crosses the x-axis. And we can see in this case that it's happening at 4. We also want to look at our y-intercept, which is where it crosses the y-axis, which in this case is going to be at 6. So those have coordinates that I can write. So if I come back over here to my x-intercept, to get to that point, I've gone over 4, and I haven't gone up or down at all. So this has a coordinate of 4, 0. And if I look at my y-intercept has gone up 6, but before I went up 6, I didn't go left or right. So my x value is going to be 0, but my y value is 6. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 6. Now the slope we can see here is something that it's downhill. You read a graph from left to right. So if we start on the left side and we move towards the right, we can see that this is going downhill. If we were on snow skis, we would be skiing downhill as we move from left to right. That is a negative slope. We could also have a positive slope if our line was going uphill, but this is a negative slope. We're going to look more carefully at slope in a later lesson, but for right now, I just want you to know that slope can be very steep or it can be very gradual. I can draw another line, I'll draw it in pink, that can look something like this. And if I draw it like this, you can see that this slope is still downhill, but it's significantly less steep. For example, if we go back to skiing, if we were skiing downhill, we'd be going real fast down this red line, but if we were skiing down this pink line, we'd be going more my speed. nice and slow. A positive slope would be uphill. I'll draw you a blue line. If we went uphill, we'd be skiing. Well, we wouldn't actually be skiing very much. We'd be climbing on our skis or hopefully riding a ski lift headed uphill.